We're going to begin this hour with more reaction to the sudden death of Republican Senator Lindsey Graham. He was 71 years old. Senator Tim Scott was a close friend of Graham, serving alongside him for more than 13 years, both of them, as you know, representing the great state of South Carolina. Senator Scott, thank you so much for joining us. I know this is a very difficult time for you. I know it must be shocking and emotional, but I've been watching you all weekend, and I hear you say repeatedly that the country might have lost a statesman, but you have lost a friend. And I want to concentrate on the friend part for a second. Connect the dots with us about who he was as a person and why you considered him a friend.
Well, thank you, Gayle, so much for starting there with a personal opportunity to share the love I have for my good friend, Lindsey Graham, and the love he had for his family is really the most important part of his journey. It started as a 19-year-old kid at the University of South Carolina. His mother dies of cancer, and 15 months later, his dad has a massive heart attack, and he's gone. And Lindsey actually adopts his 13-year-old sister, and that misery and painful journey leads him to the United States Senate, and it makes him very sensitive to people. He loves bringing people together. I remember him at my wedding, Gayle. He was talking to this little kid named Case, and he was just making a joke that for a 3-year-old, he had no expectation that that kid would ever see Social Security, and all the adults just laughed, and you just felt people getting a little closer, even at my wedding, as Lindsey became the comedian in tow. So it was just so fantastic to have that in the Senate with us, but also as a friend, just someone who always was bringing people together through humor.
You know, it's interesting to see the praise coming in from both sides of the aisle about him. I've heard people say he was able to do things that other senators could not. You know, that regardless of how you felt about some of his positions, there was always a way that you could talk to Lindsey Graham. You think that that's true?
Gayle, it's 100% true. One of the things I'd say is his wit and his humor brought the Senate colleagues together. Whether it was Cory Booker or Bernie Sanders, Lindsey Graham would look for something in common, and if they could find it, he'd work with them on it. And sometimes he'd be criticized for crossing the aisle, but Lindsey Graham was oblivious to that kind of criticism because he felt like if it was good for America, just do it. And we need more folks in public office who appreciate the value of friendship and common ground. You do not have to surrender your values to find a path forward. Lindsey never did. He never surrendered his values, but he always found the path that led to a better America. And sometimes it didn't work out, but he didn't care. He'd come right back to it again. And that really is why so many people have great passion for him, sometimes against him, but 90% of the time for him. And that made him not only a great legislator, it made him a good statesman for the country.
Senator Scott, this is Jolene Kent, and I was just wondering what you thought was on Senator Graham's mind in these final days. He was working right up to the end. He was in Ukraine. He had spoken with the president. What do you think was going through his mind?
Well, there's no doubt that Lindsey Graham, as a former JAG officer, 30 years plus serving in the military, really loved foreign policy, and he believed that America had a responsibility to solve problems here at home, but around the world. And so the Ukraine conflict there, he had spent at least 10 visits to Ukraine because he wanted to save as many lives as humanly possible. He wanted to stop the aggression of Russia. He wanted us to resource Ukraine and make sure that as quickly as possible that the resolution would come to the table. He felt like he was very close. When you hear him talk to the president on Friday, he felt like there was a deal that was imminent that could help save more lives. And talking to Lindsey behind the scenes, he always talked about the importance of peace. He would use strength to get there, but he was always focused on peace.
Senator Scott, we only have 30 seconds here. I just wanted to know, I know it's rather soon, but curious to know, he had 4 terms in the U.S. Senate. Who would you like to see run for his seat and take on his legacy?
Well, I think there are a number of people that could do so. I will say I hope that the governor will put a placeholder and let the voters decide. And so I think in the next several hours or next day or so, we'll figure out who that person is. I love Trey Gowdy. Jim DeMint has been in the conversation. His sister would be a wonderful placeholder as well. So we've got lots of candidates who could hold the place so that the voters decide. And remember, the election starts August the 11th in South Carolina. So 3 weeks from now, we'll have a primary process.
The clock is ticking. That's the first time I've heard his sister in the mix. Thank you very much, Senator Tim Scott. We're all.
You never know.
You never know. You're absolutely right about that. We thank you for your time this morning.